Attention passionate Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the AFC North and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Pittsburgh Steelers' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Pittsburgh Steelers fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your friends and Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Let's get to the news. Hey, Steelers Nation. Today, we're diving into some of the latest developments right after the preseason wrapped up, and trust me, there's a lot to unpack. The 2025 preseason for the Pittsburgh Steelers just concluded Thursday night with their game against the Carolina Panthers, a game that served as a final tune-up before the real season begins. But the real story kicks in just less than 24 hours later, when the team announced their roster cuts. And let me tell you, these moves are more than just routine. They could be signaling a lot about the team's strategic direction heading into the season. As we all know, roster cuts are always a tense time for players and fans alike. It's where the team has to make some tough decisions, trimming down to that 53-man roster that will carry them through the regular season. And for the Steelers, that process was no different. They announced Friday that they had released 11 players, a mix of offensive and defensive talent, including some familiar names that fans might have been expecting. Among the offensive players cut were quarterback Logan Woodside, running back Evan Hull, tight end Kevin Folsch, guard Doug Nestor, and tackle Julian Pearl. On the defensive side, the team parted ways with linebacker Kenny Willeks and 4 defensive backs, Cam Alexander, Quindell Johnson, Kyler McMichael, and Mikey Victor. They also released long snapper Jake McQuaid, which might seem like a small detail to some, but in the NFL, every position counts, especially special teams. Now you might be wondering, why is the release of Jake McQuaid so significant? Well, long snappers are often overlooked, but they play a crucial role in the game. McQuaid had been part of the team, and his release comes just days after Christian Kuntz, the team's starting long snapper, suffered an injury during Week 2 of the preseason. That injury was reported to be a fractured sternum, which is no small matter. So, the fact that the Steelers released McQuaid right after the injury suggests they're optimistic about Kuntz's recovery and his readiness for Week 1. It's a strategic move. By releasing McQuaid, they might be signaling that Kuntz could be ready to go when the regular season kicks off. But at the same time, the team might also keep McQuaid on the practice squad as insurance, just in case Kuntz isn't fully recovered or if any setbacks happen. That's a common practice in the NFL, keeping versatile players around in a backup capacity. Pause here, just for a second. If you want the YouTube algorithm to keep recommending the latest Pittsburgh Steelers news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, it's quick and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now let us continue with the big reveal. On the offensive side, the cuts of Logan Woodside and Evan Hull drew a lot of attention, but honestly, it was pretty much expected. Woodside, who was competing for that backup quarterback spot, was the number 5 on the depth chart behind Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky, and a few others. With rookie Will Howard sidelined due to a hand injury and possibly starting the season on injured reserve, the Steelers simply didn't have room for Woodside unless they wanted to carry 4 quarterbacks, which is pretty rare in the NFL. During preseason, Woodside showed some flashes, completing 4 of 6 passes for 38 yards in Week 3, but overall, he didn't do enough to secure a spot. His completion percentage and lack of big plays probably sealed his fate, especially with Howard potentially being the future backup once healthy. Evan Hull, on the other hand, was part of a very competitive group of running backs. The Steelers had 7 backs on their roster during the offseason, and the position was arguably one of the most hotly contested. Hull's release signals that perhaps the team is leaning toward other options or that they feel confident with their current depth. It's worth noting that the Steelers added to their secondary depth just before the 3rd preseason game, which indicates they're prioritizing bolstering that unit. The defensive backfield has been a focus this offseason, and with players like Cam Alexander, Quindell Johnson, Kyler McMichael, and Mikey Victor now cut, it's clear that the team is doing some serious house cleaning. Speaking of those defensive backs, these cuts weren't surprising either. Alexander, Johnson, McMichael, and Victor were always on the bubble, the team just brought Alexander in on Monday, and he didn't have much time to prove himself. ESPN's Brooke Pryor suggested that the addition might have been mostly for depth during the preseason game, and now that the team is trimming down to the 53-man roster, it's clear they're prioritizing other options. Kenny Willeks, a linebacker who the Steelers signed just days earlier, was also released. Willeks had been a notable player in the UFL over the past 2 years before signing with Pittsburgh, but his brief stint didn't seem to fit into the long-term plans. Still, the fact that the team signed him and then released him so quickly shows they're exploring multiple options and are not shying away from trying out different players to see who fits best. This roster trimming process is always a nerve-wracking time, especially for fans who follow the team closely. The Steelers, like every other NFL franchise, must cut down to that 53-man roster by 4 p.m. ET on August 26. It's a deadline that forces teams to make some tough choices, balancing talent, potential, and team needs. Interestingly, Pittsburgh was able to start their cuts early since they wrapped up preseason play on Thursday. Unlike some teams that still had one more preseason game to go, the Steelers took that opportunity to finalize their roster moves, giving fans a clearer picture of what to expect heading into Week 1. Now, let's take a step back and look at what this all means for the Steelers moving forward. First, it's clear that the team is confident in Kuntz's recovery from his sternum fracture. The decision to release McQuaid, a season-long snapper, indicates that they believe Kuntz will be ready to handle those duties when the games count. This is huge because special teams often go unnoticed until they make a mistake, but having a reliable long snapper is vital. When it comes to the quarterback position, the cut of Woodside was expected, especially with Will Howard injured and the team not wanting to carry 4 quarterbacks. That leaves Mitch Trubisky as the primary backup behind Kenny Pickett, who is entering his second year as the franchise's starting quarterback. The running back group, with Hull's release, suggests that the Steelers might be leaning on their current stable, which includes Najee Harris and other backups who have been working hard during the preseason. It's a testament to how competitive that position is, and it also hints that the team might be looking for other ways to bolster their offense, possibly through in-season additions or internal development. The secondary, which has been a focus all offseason, has seen some of its depth trimmed, but the players cut weren't necessarily expected to make the final roster. It's all about finding the right mix of youth, experience, and potential, especially as the Steelers look to improve on a defense that was already pretty solid last year. Looking ahead, the Steelers have a lot of reasons to be optimistic. Their core offense, led by Kenny Pickett, showed flashes of promise last season, and with a solid offensive line and a reliable running game, they can be a balanced team. The defense, which has been a strength in recent years, remains formidable, especially with the additions and the depth they're trying to maintain. The coaching staff, led by head coach Mike Tomlin, is known for its ability to adapt and get the most out of their roster, and these roster cuts are just the first step in shaping a team that can contend in the AFC North, a division that's always been tough, with the Ravens, Bengals, and Browns all fighting for supremacy. Of course, the AFC North has been fiercely competitive in recent years, with the Steelers always playing a central role. The division has seen some shifts, but Pittsburgh remains a team that's respected across the league. Their ability to develop young talent, make strategic moves in free agency, and draft well has kept them in the playoff conversation year after year. This season, expectations are high, especially with Kenny Pickett now entering his second year as the starter. The coaching staff is looking to build around him, and the roster moves made in these cutdowns reflect a desire to strengthen core areas, cut dead weight, and stay flexible for in-season adjustments. And let's not forget that the NFL's roster cut deadline is a critical moment for all teams. It's when the puzzle pieces are finally laid out, and coaches get a clearer picture of what they have to work with. For the Steelers, this process is always about balancing talent, experience, and potential. They're known for their stability and adaptability, and these cuts highlight their focus on finding the right chemistry for the 2025 season. Fans should keep an eye on who might be added to the practice squad or brought in later for depth, because roster moves are ongoing and surprises can always happen as the season approaches. Steelers fans, what do you think about these cuts? Do you believe the team is headed in the right direction? Are there any players you think should have made the roster or others you're glad to see go? Your opinions matter so much to us, and your passion fuels this channel. I'll be back soon with more updates, analysis, and deep dives into everything Steelers related. Make sure to stay tuned, subscribe if you haven't yet, and keep that Steelers pride alive. We're on the road to another exciting NFL season, and I can't wait to see how it all unfolds with our beloved Steelers leading the charge. Thanks for watching, and as always, let's go Steelers!